Most guys waste their first few years in the gym making less progress than they could. But if you learn these 5 muscle building hacks now, you'll build more strength and size quicker than you ever thought possible. Watch till the end and I'll break each of them down for you. Number 1, don't lose weight too quickly. So many people, when they get into the gym, they immediately cut their calories by 500, by 1,000. They'll be starving themselves trying to lift weights, and it's like, how are you going to try and push your body to build more muscle when you're not feeding it properly? You're not giving it enough calories, enough nutrients to rebuild that muscle. And it's so stupid, because there's an old physics quote, mass moves mass. So if you weigh less when you're trying to move this weight, you're gonna move less. You're not gonna be able to push as much weight. Imagine a 150-pound guy walks into the gym and a 300-pound guy walks into the gym. They both get under the bench press and they both try and bench 100 kilos or 220 pounds. Which one do you think is going to be able to do it? They're both completely untrained. The 300-pound guy, obviously. Because, mass moves mass. The heavier you are, the heavier you can move. It makes more, it just makes sense. So, people who lose weight too quickly, and it's all about aesthetics. You will make so much better progress if you just keep some of the weight on, humble yourself, just keep that belly for a little bit longer, because in the long run, you'll make 10, 15, maybe even 20% more muscle if you just save your cut for later. Honestly, people cut way too early in the gym. It's like you've been going to the gym for a month. It's not time to cut, man. No one should be cutting in their first 6 months to a year into the gym. You need to be stretching those newbie gains out to the max. Literally stretching them to their limit. And that means eating in a 250 calorie surplus or maintaining, eating as much protein as possible, and working out as many times as possible. Number 2, lower reps equals strength. Higher reps equals size. So what this basically means is, if you do lower reps but higher weight, so more powerlifting style, 4 to 6 reps, then you will build more strength. Whereas if you do, 10 to 15, 8 to 12 reps, you'll build more size. Really simple concept to understand, but there's a lot of people who actually didn't know that. I learned this not too long ago myself, and I've been going to the gym 2-3 years now. And it's really, you have to decide what you're training for. Are you training to look good or to be strong? And once you've made that decision, then you change your training plan to reflect it. Because if you're just going for the bodybuilder style, you just want to look massive, 10 to 15 reps, perfect. But if you are going for pushing the most weight and the PRs, then 4 to 6, 6 to 8 reps is what you should be going for. If you're trying to build strength, you shouldn't be doing anything higher than, 6 reps. But obviously, most people go into the gym just trying to get an attractive body nowadays, which is why the mainstream advice is just 10 to 15 reps, exactly what I started with. Number 3, muscle protein synthesis. Muscle protein synthesis is when your body uses protein to synthesize new muscle. Duh. So, just skip to the bro science because it's a really complicated topic. You want to be having your protein every 2 hours. I know that sounds a bit mad, 24 hours in a day, that means, 12 hours. Every 12 hours I need to be, 12 times I need to be eating protein. No, it's not like that. This is before and after your training. So a couple of times before and a couple of times after. You want to be drinking a protein shake or, having a meal. it's really key to get your protein in after your training. There's like a 30 to about 30 minutes window where your body is so absorbent of the calories and the protein and the nutrients that you give it. And some people don't think this exists, but what's the harm in having some protein after your workout? Some people call it the golden hour, and it's essentially where your body will absorb the most protein into your muscles to build them the quickest. So 30 minutes before your workout, 30 minutes after, have a protein shake or have like a high protein snack or something. But 2 hours after that 30 minutes, so 2.5 hours after your workout and 2.5 hours before your workout, you want to have a protein shake or, protein meal, whatever. Just a protein source, 20 to 30 grams, if not a bit more. And then you'll be maximizing your gains. Because basically, the muscle protein synthesis, it goes, basically your body, this is like when you get the protein, and it goes up, and then it'll slowly start to come down. It's like a wave. And when it starts to come down, actually, you know what? It goes up, and then it stays at the top for a bit. And then after 2 hours, it starts to come down. So if you can catch it at that 2 hour point, then you can just keep it going. And that's the muscle repairing cycle. So you just build more muscle. Anyway, point 4. Ignoring the importance of sleep. And right, don't get bored and start like scrolling down to the comments and shit and whatever and looking at the recommended videos. I'll go over this quickly. Sleep is when your body builds the majority of your muscle. So if you're going to hit a really, really, really hard workout and then you decide to, God forbid, pull an all-nighter, or you decide that you're just going to stay up a bit later, you only get 3, 4, 5 hours of sleep, then you may as well have not gone to the gym. That's not that extreme, but you will diminish your gains so much if you're getting shit sleep after a really good workout. If you're really proud of this workout, then you need to be going to bed on time and waking up 7, 8 hours afterwards. Give your body enough time to recuperate and to rebuild. Because otherwise it'll just revert back to how it was before, not build that much muscle. Anyway, I'm not going to rant on to you about sleep because everyone does that. Number 5, this is probably something you haven't heard before, is drop sets and what I like to call static failure. Drop sets. Right, let me grab my whiteboard a sec, because this is complex to explain, at least I think. Wipe it off a sec. Right, so drop sets. This is how much stress your muscle at its current point can take. If you are doing, let's say 10 reps, so 1, 2, 3, oh, that's a dodgy one, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is how much strain you're putting on your muscle each time you do a rep. So let me get to focus on this a sec. There we are. So this is how much strain you're putting on your muscles each time. And let's say, I'll do it again. You're doing loads more reps. And you're going to get right to the end because you did loads of reps. This is like 20, 25 reps. Whereas when you're doing 4 to 6 reps, you may only get to there, and you haven't actually maximized, gotten to this point here. So you've actually missed out, and it doesn't look like much, but over the long term, if you're missing that on every single set, I'm not saying you should do drop sets for every set, but for the last set in like that exercise, on a big compound movement like bench press or leg press, I think you should absolutely be doing drop sets to maximize this grey area here. Otherwise you will be missing out. Whereas when you do drop sets, let's do a bigger one. Let's say you've got a big weight this time, you're not doing much, get to this point, and then you can't do it anymore. You're stuck. You've done 6 reps, so you drop the weight off and you do one more. And hold on. You drop the weight off, you do another one. Goddamn camera. And then you drop the weight off again, you do another one, and another one, and another one. Until you get to the point where there's no weights on there, and you're literally just letting your muscles get rid of some of that lactic acid. You're basically just doing some stretches. And that is how you absolutely maximize the amount of strain that your muscles can take. And you basically destroy your muscles to the point where they actually can't get destroyed anymore, which is the goal of obviously lifting weights. You know, you want to destroy them so they can come back stronger. Now, static reps, static failure even, sorry, is another tactic you could use if you don't want to be using drop sets, because drop sets are hard if you're on your own, because you need to get up, take the weight off, get back down, prep, you know, get back into, boom, retracted, you know, all of that. A static failure is something I really like to use when I'm training biceps. How do I explain this? Basically, when you get to that, let's say you're doing hammer curls and you've got to that last point where you've got to here, and you know you're not going to be able to do another rep. You get to the point where you're like, right, I know I cannot get another rep in. So you bring it up, and then you just slowly lower it down until you get to the 90-degree angle, and then you just hold. And then you hold it and hold it. It might take you about 30 seconds, but if you honestly can't, if you know that you can't get another rep in, it should take you about 10 to 15 seconds, and then you will literally have to drop the weight on the floor. And that's another way of squeezing that last little bit of power out of your muscle and destroying it to that last point. And if you utilize all of these 5 steps in this video, then you will skyrocket your gains so quickly, honestly. But lifting is only half the battle. If your diet is not locked in, then you won't make crazy gains. I made a full guide on how to eat for muscle growth and fat loss. That is your next step. Go watch that right now. Hit subscribe. Have a hard day and a great week. Mwah.